So be assured I've had several attempts of doing the following vid that you see before you. Yeah, again, it's not an easy subject, but bloody hell, come on. Elite athletes may be in top physical shape, able to sprint, lift, and play at the highest level of their sport, but a shock study shows they are at a higher risk of deadly cardiovascular complications. Now let that one sit there. Think about that, right? They give you a couple of examples of where people, young people, have suffered cardiac arrest while they were playing. One of them being Bronny James, 18-year-old, and Hall of Famer Boston Celtics player Reggie Lewis. But both suffered cardiac arrest while playing their sport, with the latter dying because of it at just 27 years old. And remember, that's with perceived medical professionals quite literally sitting in the sidelines, plus your staff, plus the players, and they couldn't get them to a hospital in time or whatever else. They literally die. One of them dies. Mind you, others have literally died on the pitch. It never used to be a thing. In fact, the shock value of something like that, in no small way, was down to its rarity. It was that rare up until, I don't know, the last 4+ years. And remember, while they were saying, we're not forcing anybody to take it, but if employers want to push upon them that they can't work unless they do, and they need to take tests every single day, and we'll demonise those that don't take it, we'll make it conversation within workplaces, who has and who hasn't, and judge them accordingly. Oh, and we're not forcing anything on you, but you wanted you to go on holiday after we demanded that you'd be in the house for 23 hours of a day, and only getting out under certain circumstances, queuing around supermarkets, blah, 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 wearing bibs, which went away. And demand that, the only way shops will open is having bits of perspex in front of them, not looking at anything to do with physics, etc. But, an endless list of nudging the public to do and accept things that otherwise they never, ever would have engaged with. Yeah? And because they took, hey, look, it's so safe and it will solve, and it didn't and it isn't. Yeah? But they put it down to that apparently most of us, well, we didn't know this, but we all have such a huge percentage of us have hypertension and high blood pressure. And the very act of people performing athletics or in a sport, well, that puts them at even a higher risk. Think about this. And yet look at the history of sport. Can you imagine, even 50 years ago, 40 years ago, less? And you were looking to inspire primary school children onwards to take up sports and even maybe make a career of it. Well, there's a good chance you might die in your late teens or 20s, blah, blah, blah. But, I don't think sport would be such a thing or inspirational. I'll repeat, it's only been in the last 4+ years of a certain thing and induced and forced injections, by and large, that this has become the norm for many in sports at young ages. But they say that the researchers attribute hypertension in athletes to training they undergo, such as certain cardio drills to improve endurance and speed, or heavy weightlifting to build up key muscles used in games. The level of bullshittery, whoever put this together must have been chewing a lemon to keep a straight face. Seriously. A difference in diets to maintain peak performance may also play a role, while different calorie, fat, and protein ratios consumed by different players. Now, don't get me wrong. The fine-tuning of the food industry over the last few decades as opposed to toxicity has certainly gone from strength to strength. And what I mean is the explosion in things like excitotoxins, artificial sweeteners, plastics, i.e. BPEs and BPSEs leaching from can linings into drinks, or plastic bottles, or so many other things, even when you factor all that in, and yes, inarguably, in the last 40 plus years, the sperm count of most males has dropped like a brick. The same as their testosterone levels. Yeah? But even when you factor all that and more in, this is just utter bullshit. Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah? When was it ever a thing that there was needed defibrillators, by the way, which I question their effectiveness, was a thing in primary schools? Think about that. Look, you could talk for hours. Anyway, and as usual, I didn't even bother logging in because OpenWeb, their AI software, doesn't like me. Anyway, so anything but admit the sudden prevalence of myocarditis and pericarditis ever since the corona jabs were forced upon the people. Do we know who paid for the study and doesn't mention the jabs? The pharmaceutical companies who made billions from the vaccines by any chance? And remember, even at the time, these costume-wearing tossbags who masquerade as our politicians were saying to you, safe and effective. Don't worry. Okay, it's out the bag that the very companies involved in making these vaccines will only do it if they have blanket immunity to any kind of prosecution. But don't you worry, we've got you covered. In the very rare chance that someone has negative effects from it, we'll cover them up to £120,000. And even at the time when I was hearing that, I says, good luck. Even if you could prove that. And how long's that going to last you if you've no legs or arms or whatever else or worse? Yeah? And remember, you wouldn't even get dole money in the... I'm sorry, you've got more than X amount in. Believe me. But there were the naive out there that thought, hey, do you know what? I don't actually give that two shits about my health. And if I can prove it was down to the vaccine, I may get 120 grand. And that, honestly, for some out there, would you believe that was a thing? And it was a thing that was thought of already by the think tanks. That is where we are, and so much more. If this is true, high blood pressure, then why so many? The UK excess deaths figure is more than 30,000 only since the jabs. If it is high blood pressure due to diet and training, then 30,000 excess deaths per year should always have been so. Yeah, my point and so much more. I mean, look, seriously. Another one, total bollocks. Well, they've had to change the wording of that. We all know the reason. Yeah. We all know the reason. By and large, even in the general public, more and more of them are like, do you know what? I have a doubt now. I've never felt the same. Blah, blah, blah. And well, and some of them, let's be honest, many of them aren't even here now to tell you that. Anyway, your thoughts, your views, your thumbs up, your shares. If you like what I do, support the channel. And I'll speak to you soon.